If we play this right, it is over before it's begun.
There's really no means to abort.
We'll get her killed and expose the entire program.
Our asset is embedded. We don't have the ability to call her off.
Even though fans are still waiting to hear if Lioness will officially come back for a third season, there's already some news that gives people hope. Zoe Saldaña, who's a major movie star with films that have made billions worldwide, is locked in for Lioness Season 3. Throughout the first 2 seasons of Taylor Sheridan's series, she's really stood out as Jo, this troubled but strong team leader. Now, she's basically let it slip that she's sticking around for more. "I signed up for 3 seasons at least," Saldaña shared, which sounds like a pretty clear hint that there's more on the way. But at the same time, it could just be one of those contracts studios like to have in place just in case. When Saldaña talked more about it, she admitted that it's not exactly like she just had tons of room in her life to sign on for more. "I signed up for 3 seasons at least, and so you do have a sort of contractual obligation to fulfill," she explained. But it's not just about doing a job for her. Working on Lioness has actually been a pretty meaningful ride. It's given her the chance to work with someone totally different from the usual big Hollywood directors. She described Taylor Sheridan as kind of this cowboy who lives off the grid, and that makes a bunch of people really curious. You either click with the rhythm of his writing and the themes he always wants to dig into, or you don't. Now, despite Zoe being tied down for more, the actual series renewal still hasn't happened. There's no green light for Lioness Season 3 yet. Sheridan shows have become some of the biggest draws on Paramount+, so there's obviously a lot riding on Lioness doing well. But these shows also come with huge production costs. Other hits of his like Tulsa King and 1923 have already scored extra seasons, and there's definitely a chance Lioness could keep that trend going. For now, the latest episodes of Lioness Season 2 are dropping on Sundays over on Paramount+. As is pretty much always the case in TV, whether the show comes back again will all depend on how many people keep tuning in. Critical praise is nice and all, but it's really about how big the audience is that's what tells Paramount+ whether to spend on more. Still, if Season 2 pulls numbers anywhere close to what Season 1 managed, there's little reason to think a third season isn't just around the corner. Plus, if they can streamline the production a bit, they might even be able to get it out faster and fill those big gaps that happen when other streaming shows take forever between seasons. Season 2 officially kicked off on October 27, 2024, and it's been a tense ride ever since. When it comes to who we might see again in a possible Season 3, things are a bit tricky. The cast has already shifted quite a bit since the show started. Keeping an all-star lineup together is never easy, and there's no telling if big names like Morgan Freeman or Nicole Kidman will want to hang around forever. The safest bet is that Zoe Saldaña will keep holding things down as Jo, the rock of the Lioness team. Until we hear otherwise, Nicole Kidman probably returns too as Caitlin, the sharp and somewhat cold CIA boss. Morgan Freeman should also pop back up as Secretary of State Mullins. Michael Kelly's character Byron Westfield has shown up across both seasons so far, acting as Caitlin's superior at the CIA, and it's hard to see the story moving forward without that constant tension between Jo and the people pulling her strings. David Annable also seems like a lock to return as Neil, Jo's husband, since the family dynamic has become such a core piece of the story. Of course, Lioness uses a pretty big ensemble cast that tends to change as missions come and go. New operatives will join up, and others might have to be replaced, especially after how Season 2 ended. But it's impossible to guess exactly who will fill those spots until more details come out. As far as where the story might go, Season 2 has set up some serious tension that looks ready to explode. There's a growing rift between Jo and the CIA, and each new mission keeps pushing Jo further from what she believes Lioness was supposed to stand for. This latest threat has put her leadership and loyalty to the test like never before. If the next mission with her newest recruit doesn't pan out, it might finally be the thing that drives her out of the program for good. That basic framework could actually help the show stay strong. Shows like this often need some kind of familiar structure from season to season. It wouldn't be surprising if each new season tackled a totally new threat, all while digging deeper into the political maneuvering behind the scenes. The last episode of Season 2 pretty much showed how wild things can get. That finale was all about a changed mission for the Lioness team, stopping 2 Chinese nuclear scientists traveling in a Turkish military convoy from reaching Iran's Isfahan nuclear site. Meanwhile, over in Costa Rica, Byron and Caitlin were working a very different angle. They convinced Josie's dad, Pablo, to help them out, offering the chance to run his brother's business from the US with the kind of safety he might have only gotten in Mexico. Pablo then set up a meeting at his brother Alvaro's heavily guarded compound. Once they got past all the private security, Byron slipped Pablo a gun so he could kill his own brother with a shot right through the head. On the flight back, Byron actually threw up, not just because it was a cold-blooded kill, but because after all that, he knew so little was actually going to change. Back in Iran, the plan was for Josie and Cruz, acting as the door gunner, to hit the convoy from a helicopter, while Cody and another Cody, only in a Sheridan show would there be 2 Codys, provided sniper cover. Josie pulled off a couple solid explosive runs on the convoy, but their chopper couldn't totally dodge enemy fire. It went down hard, leaving Josie stunned and with a badly broken leg. Once Joe and the QRF team heard about the crash, they rushed over. With the Codys, they unloaded a ton of ammo, holding off waves of Iranian troops. Cruz managed to help Josie limp to a slightly safer spot behind some rocks where they set up with the others. Close air support and Delta teams were still minutes away, so it was just them trying to pick off enemies one by one. But as more trucks showed up spilling out soldiers, the team started taking serious hits. Tucker got shot in the leg, Bobby caught a grazing bullet across the face, Tex took one in the gut, and 2 Cups got hit too. It looked pretty bleak. Joe even checked that Josie still had a pistol and told her it might come down to using it on Joe and the others to keep them from being captured and tortured. Just as everything seemed totally lost, Josie let out a desperate scream, and Joe whispered a "love you" for the family she thought she might never see again. Then, right on cue, the high-pitched roar of a close air support filled the sky. The helicopter above unloaded a storm of missiles and railgun rounds, wiping out the threat in seconds. Later, back at the hangar, medics were treating a bunch of gunshot wounds and Josie's badly broken leg, but it seemed like everyone would pull through. Talking it over, Cruz told Joe that if she'd had a family, she might have called in a missile strike earlier to spare them all the risk. But Joe just shook her head. "No, you wouldn't," she said. Joe then quietly took in the sight of all her injured teammates. Sometime after, she finally made it home, looking completely exhausted and maybe a little scared of what was waiting. After the last tense words she'd had with Neil, she wasn't sure if there was even a home left for her. But Neil was right there, waiting. "Wasn't sure you were coming home," he told her. Joe just sighed. "I wasn't sure I still had one to come home to." And that's when Neil wrapped her up and said, "Joe, you always have one to come home to." Then they stepped inside together, where their daughters came rushing up to welcome her back. So even without an official Season 3 order, all the pieces are in place for Lioness to keep going. The cast, the conflicts, and a bunch of storylines that could twist off in any direction. Now, it's really just up to how many people keep watching. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Your suggestions for future videos are always welcome in the comments section down below. Don't forget to like our video, share with your family and friends, and subscribe to the channel to stay in the loop. And if you want, you can share your thoughts about this video in the comments.